Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Chaos Child. In the last episode, Takuru recorded what had happened at Cafe LAX and Aoba Dorm on the map chronicling the string of the second new generation madness that has been unfolding in Shibuya. And disquietingly came to a very telling suspicion. We just remembered that Yui herself had mentioned opening the door, well, almost opening the door, although she hesitated and then did the exact opposite when she caught a glimpse of Senri Minamisawa, who attempted to break into the clinic that fateful night. And initially he chalked it up to being possibly that Senri might have ignored her, given the fact that Yui was almost certainly an innocent bystander. However, said possibility was not a risk that Takuru was willing to play off, and tragically his hunch actually proved itself correct. Because for some reason, Yui herself can see the D-swords wielded by Hinai Arimura and Uki Yamazoe. In other words, Yui herself is also a latent gigolomaniac. And because Senri had failed to kill Takuru, Arimura, and Uki, she might have just as easily gone for Yui herself as an extra target. But fortunately, due to Yui's prudence, she barely managed to avoid this grisly fate. Sadly for Kurisu, that means her adoptive little sister is now also a part of this insanity. But speaking of which, because Senri Minamisawa failed to kill anyone on the 23rd, at least her original prime targets, it's, my supposition that they found a substitute somewhere in Shibuya to make it look like the string of killings was still going on was proven also correct, as evidenced by Detective Takeshi Shinjo here, standing over the corpse of a woman who was burnt and also had a concrete rebar stuffed down her throat. Charming. Yeah, there is a fifth victim after all. Just a day later, I might add. Which brings me to the point that has been waiting on my mind this whole time. Because Takuru's suppositions have all hinged on the fact of the dates corresponding with the original dates of the New Generation Madness. I would like to bring something back to the fore, which is the dates that the victims were found in the original New Generation Madness serial killings. Those were the dates the victims were found, not the dates that they were killed on. So in reality, the dates themselves technically do not matter. Except, of course, for the sake of manipulating public opinion and media manipulation as well.
まさかこれも?
It certainly appears so, Shinjo. However, as I've just said a moment ago, the dates that they were found or killed actually do not matter. Not really, if I'm being...
でも23日は
if I'm being truthfully honest. No, it isn't. It is the 24th, the following night. And of course, such a gap in the pattern has already been noticed by the hordes of online social media users. But, well, I'll say it for a third time. The dates themselves are irrelevant. What matters are the deaths themselves. On the 23rd, the killers spent the whole day going after Takuru Miyashiro and his friends, which meant the target had to be one of them. Could have been anyone from Takuru, Hanai, Uki, and Yui.
新庄さん
悪い。続けてくれ。
Shinjo put the sheet back on the body again and made another short prayer.
ガイシャの身元は未確認と言いましたが、自分の意見としてはおそらくこの部屋の住人と見て間違いないと思います。
That could very well be the case.
ハイダリコさんだったな。
Huh. So her name is Riko Haida.
はい。
He flipped through his notebook and relayed to Shinjo what he'd learned from the condo's manager. Oh, so that's the name of the manager, not the victim.
年齢18歳、独身で一人暮らし。職業は派遣のテレフォンサポートってことになってますが、派遣会社に確認を取ろうとしたところ、会社自体がもう存在していませんでした。
Ah. So it was a cover-up. So this person here is, well, this victim was involved in something shady.
倒産したか、あるいは水商売のためのダミー会社って可能性もあるな。
I would say that the temp agency is it is a front company, but not for a prostitution ring.
その線については今表せてます。
It's too convenient of a reason.
で、会社が彼女だと思われる根拠は？
Shinjo took out his own notebook and started to copy down the things he thought were important.
はい。契約以来、どうも本人しかこの部屋へ入った形跡がないようなんです。
ん？
So no one saw anything.
鑑識からの報告では、室内から出た指紋や足跡は本人とおぼしきものだけで、不自然に拭き取った跡なども見られません。
Ah, so they might be able to get an ID. That's if said woman's ID is actually on file, which, given the fact that her temp agency is a front, is probably not going to happen.
もちろん、それ以外の指紋もないわけじゃないんですが、どれも古いもので、おそらく以前の住人や業者だと思われます。鑑識も今回の件からは除外できるだろうという意見です。
Well, at least they thought to check. But if they
また、
ruled out, they
玄
ruled
関の
out.
靴跡も会社のものしか見当たりません。
In other words, ever since this person moved into the apartment, she's been the only one operating in here.
遺体発見時、玄関には2つの鍵の他に内側からチェーンロックがかかっていました。窓もしっかり施錠されていたので、本人に間違いないかと。
Another classic locked room scenario. They really are going for the old-style mystery novel theme here. Shinjo felt a little like he was going to faint.
じゃあ、犯人はどうやってここに入って犯行に及んだんだ？
Yeah. The question that still applies to the 4 previous cases. It would take some serious equipment to roast a whole person. You couldn't get in there without leaving any traces. Yeah, normally you would think, yeah, because a flamethrower is a very bulky weapon, add to the fact that you would need fuel tanks in order to use it. But Shinjo, you should already be aware of the nature of gigalomaniacs. The younger detective must have been thinking the same thing. Of course, it would pretty much be a bad thing if Shinjo spoke that out loud.
これで普通の死に方をしててくれれば、自殺ってことで新庄さんの手をお借りすることもなかったんですけど。
Yeah, in the same manner as the other deaths.
死に方に普通も何もないだろう。
すいません。
1階のエントランスに防犯カメラがあったよな。
Ah, surveillance.
ええ、部下が管理人室で録画のチェックを始めていますが、今のところは何も。
Well, there might be something, but there might not.
そうか。
Shinjo looked at the victim, and then at the forensics people. They were frowning as they talked. Yeah, this is a very unusual situation.
あの様子だと死亡時刻の推定もまだ無理そうだな。
Unfortunate.
はい。解剖に回してみないと何とも。火災報知器が作動していればすぐに分かったんでしょうが。
So either the smoke alarms weren't working, or they were deliberately turned off, or they were never installed. The two of them looked up at the useless devices on the ceiling. Yeah, they were...
壊されていたって？
Yeah.
はい。
Probably deliberately.
誰に？あ、いや、室内には彼女の指紋しかないんだったな。ということは、本人か？
Yeah. If her fingerprints are on the smoke alarms, that is. But why would she do that? Shinjo couldn't make any sense of it.
というか、新庄さん。俺、焼死の現場ってのは初めてなんですけど、こんな風に燃えるもんなんですか？
わからん。こんなの俺だって初めてだ。
Shinjo probably telling a half-truth there because he is all too aware of the fact that Senri Manami-sawa is out there. And he knows of the fact that she is a pyrokinetic, given the fact that two of his men tried to apprehend her and failed, and received terrible burns for their troubles. Although, as truthfully, Shinjo is right, he has never seen a body that has been burned quite like this.
鑑識の連中がね、全員首をひねってるんです。どうやって燃えたかわからないって。
Well, when logic fails you, it is time to go the illogical route, as irrational as it seems. As the famous quote from Sherlock Holmes goes, when you eliminate the improbable or the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. It has to be.
ガソリンや灯油を使ったってこんな風にはならないって。
No, gasoline couldn't. But there is one person who could. There was no smell of gasoline anyway. The only stench was of burning meat.
俺、前にテレビで見たんですけど、やっぱいいです。
Are you talking about spontaneous human combustion? Because you might be on the right track there, good sir.
言えよ、最後まで。
こりませんか？
内容による。
Yeah, Shinjo has seen some strange things over these past few months.
世界の心霊現象スペシャルとかいう番組だったかな。そこで人体の発火現象ってのが。
Or actually, I should say weeks, not months. But yeah,
やめろ、バカ。
though Shinji trying to cover the fact that he is already aware of the connection of psychic phenomena, Shinjo poked the younger detective's head lightly. Nice save there, Shinjo. The detective apologized, but Shinjo hadn't stopped him because it was too unbelievable to be true. He'd stopped him for the opposite reason. He was probably right. Oh, there is no probably about this. Which meant he didn't want rumors flying around even inside the police department.
パイロキネシスと言ったな。
Yes, indeed. Neo Kunasato, Hanai Arimura, and Takuru Miyashiro had all used the word repeatedly. It was the power to set things on fire with your mind, and they said the woman that was after Miyashiro and his friends, Senri Minamisawa, had it. Was this Riko Haida woman attacked by a pyrokinetic then? He came back to the same conclusion he'd reached earlier, but then shook his head. Ah, so this woman's name was Riko Haida, or it actually could be an alias.
それでも説明できないか。
How'd she get the rebar used to skewer the woman inside the room, and how did she get it skewered? Yeah, only one word comes to mind. Accomplice. Shinjo looked at the large window that dominated the room's east side. The curtain was open and he could see the chaotic city of Shibuya outside. If the building was taller, the view would be impressive, but from this height, you could see the dirty backsides of the surrounding condos and multi-purpose buildings. It was hard to call it a nice view. It probably made the rent a lot cheaper though, he thought to himself as he began to examine the glass window. If the killer had used some kind of powers to get the rebar in from the building across the street, this window would have been shattered. There wasn't a scratch on it.
こいつは俺が一人で考えてもどうにもならないな。
No, certainly not logically. At least, conventional logic. He hated to say it, but he needed a specialist like Mio Kunasato, so for now he decided to focus on gathering information.
Shinjo san!
What, pieces he can get. A light tap on his back brought him back to reality.
防犯カメラをチェックしてた部下から連絡です。会社の見つけました。
Ah, so, there is, you can finally see what, this Riko Haida looks like.
そうか、行こう。
When he finally got out of the room, he felt like he could breathe again. Disrespectful to the dead or not, he took a deep breath when he got outside. It was a good idea. He went down to the first floor and looked at the video on the monitor in the manager's room. This is, on the 12th. Some time ago.
管理人の話だと、ハイダリコさんは必ずカメラから顔を背けるようにしていたそうなんですが。
That's not surprising.
撮られたくない理由でも？
渋谷地震の時に顔に火傷を負ったとかで、人に見られるのを極端に嫌ってたらしいですね。
ああ、それで
Huh. Her face got burned.
ただこの時は一瞬ですが偶然映ってしまったようです。
And this time the camera managed to get a glimpse. Well, there were a lot of fires spreading throughout Shibuya on that fateful day. The timestamp on the screen indicated that it was late at night on the 12th of October.
10月12日それって確か
He remembered writing that day down, so he flipped open his notebook.
ああ、そうだ。宮代君たちが初めて南沢千里に襲われたっていう夜だな。
Yes, indeed.
先輩、ハイダリコさん来ました。
He quickly turned his eye back to the screen. In the video, the door to the entrance opened and a woman came staggering inside. Wait. Perhaps her leg didn't work right. Or maybe she was injured because he could tell she was dragging it. Her hair covered her face, making it impossible to read her expression. And she's carrying something. But something seems off about this.
おい、あれって
Something is very off about this. Shinjo and the other detectives gasped. Haida Riko was holding a long object in her hands, something like a staff, and was using it to support herself. It looked like the iron rebar that was currently skewing her body, but,
まさか自分で持ち込んだ鉄筋で串刺しに
It was just a recording, but Shinjo found himself holding his breath nervously as if he were watching live footage. Yeah, but there should also be something else that should be on Shinjo's mind right now, and I know it's on mine. She walked right by the security camera. It did seem like she wanted to avoid showing her face, but she must have tripped on something when she was right under the camera because she staggered. When she did, her hair flew backward and he could finally get a glimpse of her face. Shinjo's eyes went wide.
似てる
All of her features matched the description. They were identical to the composite sketch based on a description by someone who had barely survived an attack by this woman.
そんなこいつ
Yeah, indeed. The girl in the photo was... Yeah. It's her, alright. But that begs the question. Actually, that begs so many questions. I think the most obvious question, I think, to voice right now is, what the fuck is going on right now? I honestly have no clue as what's happening right now. But we're apparently we're back at the dorm with Yui.
大丈夫よ、ユイ。安全になるまでずっと一緒にいてあげるから。
Yeah. Yui is still upset over the fact that she can see something that she shouldn't ought to see. Which is the the D swords of Hanai Arimoto and Yuki Yamazoe, but I have something to say here. Good news is you won't have to worry about getting attacked again, at least like before. The bad news, especially for Nono Kurisu, is yeah, actually, we can't say it. It's I mean, yeah, something peculiar is happening here, and I cannot reconcile.
ほら、元気出して。
I don't feel better at all, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't. It's just, it's a victory, but it's not a victory. I mean, Yui nodded. She was still pale. Not only had she gone through a lot last night, but she just found out she was a psychic. I should just, replace that with Gigglomaniac, because that's what it's really pertaining to. She wasn't looking good at all. And I explained to her what I thought she needed to know, and then told her that no matter what, she must never be alone from now on. It was true that the return of the new generation madness had come to a temporary halt when Zenri Minamisawa hadn't been able to kill anyone on the 23rd. About that, Takuru, yeah, this, things are about to get even more twisted. Oh, if you only knew. But no matter what the rest of the world said, it felt far too early to declare this whole thing over. That's because it's not. It's far from over, but, I hate to break it to you, Takuru, but you're not going to like what's about to happen next. Or rather, what's already happened.
こんな時にこんなことを言うのは変かもしれないけど、お姉ちゃん、ちょっとだけワクワクしてるんだ。
That is a very odd sentiment coming from you of all people, Kurisu.
え？ゆいと一緒にお風呂に入ったり、寝たりするの久しぶりなんだもの。
Oh, Kurisu is just trying to comfort Yui.
ゆいったらいつの間にか大人になっちゃって、すっかりゆうとのお姉ちゃんになっちゃったでしょ。
Less like Yuto's big sister and more like you, although that probably amounts to the same thing.
たまには私の妹に戻って甘えてくれてもいいのに、なんて思ってたから。やだもう。
Yui smiled, just a little. Well, at least the situation for the time being has calmed down, but, yeah, this moment isn't going to last for the reasons. So many reasons.
ユウトはどうするって？
父さんの部屋にしばらく居候。この部屋で一緒に寝ていいって言ったんだけどね。なんか恥ずかしいみたい。私は別に構わないのに。
Yeah, that aside, it could very well be possible that Yuto is also a latent Gigglomaniac. Or maybe not, but we don't want to press things too far.
ユウはのの姉が初恋の人だから。あ、これ内緒ね。絶対ね。 それは光栄だわ。ねえねえタクル、頑張らないとユウトに私を取られちゃうわよ。
It's funny because they're not blood related, which is a huge anime trope. It's also not something to say so cavalierly like that. Sometimes Kurusu would say things like that just to enjoy my reaction. Lately I've gotten a lot better at not reacting the way she wanted me to. I simply snorted and she puffed up her cheeks and pouted.
で、ユイの能力なんだけど、本当に自覚とかないのか？
The small smile vanished from Yui's face, going back to the subject that she would rather not talk about.
そんなの急に言われても。
Because Yui is sadly in the same position that Takuru was when Hanai and Mio told him that he was a gigolomaniac.
自分の身の回りで特別なことが起こったりとかさ。
Well, we have to ask.
特別って言うと、ユウのことくらいかな。
どんな？
ユウが嘘ついてもすぐにわかるとか。
それは超能力じゃないわね。お姉ちゃんなら普通よ。私だってタクルのついた嘘なんて簡単に見抜けるもの。
Yeah, and besides the whole telling who's lying and who isn't, that has already been claimed by Hanai Arimura.
だからそこで僕を引き合いに出すなよ。
This time my don't react skill failed me. Kurusu chuckled, finally satisfied. Damn it. I felt annoyed for a moment, then I realized that Kurusu was trying to send me a message.
なるべくユイを怖がらせないであげて。
He's doing his best. That's what she seemed to be saying. Yeah, she was right. A normal girl like Yui would never be able to handle knowing that there might be a serial killer after her. And I hate to break it to you, but you're not going to handle knowing what's just transpired. But we're going to get that phone call from Shinjo. And our world is once again going to be torn apart. Oh, so terrible. So Kurusu was deliberately pretending to be cheerful.
と。
I realized that my tone had probably been too harsh and relaxed it.
他にはないかな。どんなことでもいいんだけど。
他に？
Yui looked down and thought for a minute.
そういえば、本当に時々だけど、ユウの声が聞こえるような気がする。
声？
例えば、ユウが忘れ物をして困ってたり、怪我をして泣いてたり、そういう良くない声が聞こえてきて。それで急いでユウの学校へ行くと本当に怪我をしてたりするの。
Ah. So Yui's gigolomaniac power is tied to Yuto. Which might suggest that the two of them are possible, that both of them are gigolomaniacs.
なるほど。それかもしれない。
I wasn't a specialist, so I couldn't say for sure, but maybe you could call it psychic sympathy between siblings. Kunosato might know more, but for whatever reason she had it out for us, and there was no way I was telling her about Yui.
ユウトにはそういうことはないのかしら。
And Kurusu asking a very important question.
大丈夫。あいつに能力はない。
I'd already checked yesterday. I'd shown him Yamazoe's D-sword and he hadn't shown any response at all. So it's only Yui that is the gigolomaniac. Not Yuto.
なんだか私はユウの心配してるのに、ユウの方はそうでもないみたいで、ちょっと尺だけど。でもいいよね。ユウが狙われることはないんだもんね。
That he is.
ああ、あいつはターゲットにされないはずだ。
Nope, Yuto is not a target. When Yui heard that, she finally seemed to feel better. Kurusu softly put her hand on Yui's head and rubbed it.
本当にいい子ね、ユイは。
やだ、やめてよ。
ダメです。
Kurusu grabbed Yui before she could escape and held her tight. She looked like she was about to kiss her at any second.
ユイ好きよ、大好き。
ののねがなんか気持ち悪い。助けてタクルに。
Yeah, creepy is the very word that it was on my mind. I couldn't help but smile.
気が済むまでやらせてやれよ、ユイ。
Just when I thought it was safe to leave Yui with Kurusu. There's a knock at the door. But it's a regular knock. The three of us froze at the sudden sound of a knock.
まさか、ここ家の中だぞ。
The knock continued. Kurusu stood up and positioned herself between Yui and the door. I motioned for her to step back and put my hand on the doorknob. I remembered the terror I'd felt at Cafe LAX and gulped. You're going to feel a new terror by the time this is all said and done, Takuru. To be honest, I was afraid, terrified. But I was the only one who could protect them right now. Oh, it's an I.
は
Suddenly I heard an easygoing voice from the other side of the door.
宮代先輩、ちょっといいっすか？それともクルス先輩となんかまずいことでもしてますか？
ってお前かよ。
あ、どうも
どうもじゃない。紛らわしいからノックすんなよ。
そういうわけにはいきませんってば。変な場面とか見ちゃったらどうするんです？
僕とクルスで変な場面なんてないからな。で、なんか用か？
あ、はい。ちょっと宮代先輩に話があるんで、いいですかね？
Yeah, I think we do.
僕に？
ダイニングに来てもらっても。
Yeah, well, Kurusu is going to find out anyway, but, Yeah, for now we need to speak alone, and oh
あ
god.
あ、構わないけど。
This is... I have chills at the bottom of my stomach right now.
私たちも行った方がいいかしら。
Kurisu poked her face out from behind me and asked. Arimura stuck her hands out and shook them in what looked to me like a deliberate overreaction.
いえいえ、クルス先輩と立花姉はそのままラブラブしててオッケーっすよ。話って宮代先輩にだけなんで。
That's a clever save from you there, but that solemn expression from before isn't fooling anyone.
そう？
Or, as I should probably say that, yeah. Arimura said her usual adios gracias to a confused Kurisu, then dragged me out of the room. This is probably for
なん
the
だよ、一
best.
体。
クルス先輩にはまだちょっとな話なんで。
I understand the sentiment.
とにかく来てください。見てほしいものが。
Yeah.
ああ。
Things are about to go wrong. Oh. And in a different kind of wrong. I followed Arimoto as she hurried away from Kurisu's room. And
タク、ゆいちゃんどう？
Serika is here as well. That's,
もう大丈夫だと思う。落ち着いたよ。
そっか、よかったね。
yeah, I don't think, yeah, we can't really talk while Serika is here, and I. And Uki is here as well. Uki was in the kitchen washing dishes. She looked at us. She let out a small sigh of relief. Even if she hadn't seen her for a long time, Yui was still her friend and she was still worried about her.
ひなちゃん、お茶飲む？うきちゃんが入れてくれたのはとっても美味しいよ。
I don't think this is really the time for snacks, Serika.
ああ、い
Although
え
we。might...
私はそろそろ家に帰ろうと思ってるんで。
え？
I turned to look at Arimoto, surprised. I thought she was staying here because there might be another attack like last night. This is going to be so painful.
ひなちゃん帰っちゃうの？もっと合宿していこうよ。明日学校お休みだし。
いやいや、宮代先輩のお父様にこれ以上ご迷惑をおかけするわけには。っていうか、ぶっちゃけこんなに泊まり込むと思ってなかったんで、下着の替えとかピンチでして。
A very convenient telling excuse there.
そんな、別に遠慮しなくても。
おっと、ド変態め！限界を突破した下着を遠慮なく見せつけていいと？いや、むしろじっくり見せろと？一宿一般の恩義があろうと、そいつは聞けねえ要求だな。
Arimoto pressed down on the hem of her skirt.
誰がそんなこと要求するか、そういう話じゃないだろう。
じゃあ何ですか？
だから事件が終わったっていう確証が得られるまで有村もここにいないか。その方が安全だろ。
I think that's why Hanai wants to talk to... Yeah.
ああ、なるほど。
Arimoto scratched her cheek. And then she took on a more serious look. I think Shinjo told her what's going on. In fact, I'm certain of it.
セリ、ウキ。悪いんだけど、ちょっとだけ外してくれないかな。
She spoke pointedly to Seriko and Uki. The two of them exchanged glances for a moment, but Arimoto wasn't allowing any room for discussion. They left the room. Yeah, this isn't going to end well.
はあ。
Once we were alone, Arimoto sighed a little and took her phone out of her pocket.
宮代先輩に話っていうのは、実はそのことです。
Yeah. Essentially, Takuru, the situation has become very much complicated.
Eh?
Much more complicated, I should say.
つい今しがた、新庄さんからメールが来まして、私と先輩に大至急確認してほしいことがあるって。
Yeah, this,
新庄さんから。
すごく嫌なものを送りつけられました。デリカシーがないんでしょうね。大嫌いです、あの人。
I actually think that, Shinjo actually has plenty of tact when it comes to the likes of Mio Kunosato. But, yeah, as for what has just transpired, I think we can throw tact out the window. There is no room for it here. Oh god. Arimoto expanded the attached image and looked away from the phone as she handed it to me.
それ、防犯カメラの映像のコピーだそうですよ。
Oh dear. I could see in the video the face of a woman I would never forget.
南沢千里。
Yeah, about that. My reaction was the opposite of Arimoto's. I couldn't tear my eyes away from it.
間違いないですよね。じゃあ、新庄さんには先輩からそう言っといてください。私、あの人とはもう話したくないから。
Oh, I think we're going to be talking to him for quite a bit more, and I.
ああ、わかった。これどこなんだろう。
Arimoto seemed annoyed.
その女のマンションとかメールには書いてありましたけど。
マンションを見つけた？じゃあ南沢千里は逮捕されたのか？
Not quite. I finally managed to tear myself away from the screen and look at Arimoto. She shrugged a little.
ま、似たようなものです。だから私は家に帰っても平気になりました。お世話になりました、先輩。
You're being deliberately vague there, Hanai Arimoto, and that's not a good thing. Oh, I suppose. I'm kind of been like that. But I have reasons.
ウキも立花姉も、もう安心していいみたいですよ。
I think we have even more reason to worry given what's happened.
どういうことだ？
死にました、その女。
And you were just saying that Takeshi Shinjo has no tact.
Huh?
Yeah, that's right. Arimoto spoke without any real emotion in her voice.
死んだ？南沢千里が？
Yeah. Senri Minamisawa, Riko Haida, Amy, whatever you want to call her, she is dead.
ええ、クルス先輩にはうまく伝えてください。私、そういうの苦手なんで。
You say that with a smile on your face.
それじゃ、そういうことで、あとはよろしくです。
She grabbed the phone from my hand and quickly deleted the photo. And then she bowed and left me alone in the dining room. With that bombshell.
セリー、ウキ、話終わったよ。私帰るから、宮代先輩の相手してあげて。寂しがってるよ。
But that begs the question. Was she killed because she had failed to kill anyone? But she was the one calling the shots. The hell is going on? I think Takuru's mind is going into overdrive from this left field revelation. I could hear her voice from the hallway. I could also hear Serika, Uki, Kurusu and Yui all talking. How are we going to address this? They were all probably saying something like, "You're leaving at this hour?" Yeah. But I didn't hear their conversation at all.
南沢千里が死んだ。
The serial killer who was after us was gone. October 27th, 2015, Tuesday. Yeah, well, that, did not see that coming, ladies and gentlemen. I have to be honest. But then this is what this likes to do to us, or me rather, is just when you think you have everything figured out up to a point, suddenly it does a sharp turn in a direction that, yeah, it is beyond comprehension. But I think that is going to bring an end to this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Child. So when we return, adventurers, where the fucking hell do we go from here? Because this is not over yet. Anyway, as always, adventurers, until next we meet.